So real quick, I'm gonna go over this stuff with you guys again, because yeah, let's do that. Do you want me to do the skills too? I'll start with the band list. Let me know if you want me to do the skills too. Okay. So real quick, Massive Morph limited to 1. I think this hurts farm decks against the computer more than it actually hurts PvP. Because I was talking about it a little bit earlier, like, if extra stall is still good, or if any stall is still good, there's so many defensive options available that, like, yeah, like, it matters, but I think the deck is still fine. Depending on what happens to extra, I will come back to that. Secret Pass to the Treasures and Assault Armor, both semi-limited because of Silent Swordsman, exactly. Again, the 5,000 life point thing also kind of hurt Silent Swordsman OTK quite a lot, but again, that's only official for June. It's not official that the 5,000 life points will last, so I think in case it doesn't, they wanted to do this also, so it's really just to hurt Silent Swordsman is the basic thing. It won't affect farms. Well, the Massive Morph does affect one particular farm deck, which was Kiseitai Winged Dragon of Ra farm. It actually does, because that works specifically because of Massive Morph, so it actually affects that quite a bit. But yeah, so there's that. Enemy Controller is getting limited to 2. Well, I should say semi-limited, because getting limited to 2 is actually the incorrect way to phrase it because of the way Duel Links does these things. But yeah. Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of other farm options. I was just, pointing it out. Yeah, it does work on some Labyrinth Builder decks as well. So, alright, so Enemy Controller is now semi-limited, which is probably a good thing. Honestly, I could have even seen this card being limited rather than semi-limited, but this is fine. It's now going to make people have to choose if they even want Enemy Controller in their deck based on everything else on the limited list. So, so there's that. Cup of Ace is semi-limited. I didn't know this card was actually like any kind of issue, but just prevent duels from taking too long, because the what was it? The Silent Magician level 4 OTK deck wasn't terrible enough. We have to make it worse. All right, that's fine. So that's fine. I actually really like the description of Hero Shadow Scout. They're preemptively adding it to the semi-limited list because they're basically worried, I think, that like Mill would have been too strong after the changes. So yeah, so they got rid of the Cup of Ace is semi-limited, Hero Shadow Scout is semi-limited, so they were just really worried about what would happen. Now you get to run the Bamboo version of Silent OTK. Oh boy. It's exciting. Now we're getting to the big stuff. Rose Lover, semi-limit. Big deal. Big deal. But if you think this is a big deal now, give me 5 seconds, because it's about to become a much bigger deal. Because Sylvan Martial Leaf is also semi-limited, which means that Sylvan decks now have to make a choice. You can run 2 Martial Leafs and 0 Rose Lover. You can run 2 Rose Lover and 0 Martial Leafs, or 1 of each. And that's it. So Sylvan gets hit hard by this list. Like, hard. This is a big deal. This is a really, really, really big deal. Plus, Sylvans were running Enemy Controller now. So they just straight up cannot run Enemy Controller. Period. So yeah, Sylvans got hit hard here. This is a big deal. Amazoness Onslaught. Semi-limit. To promote deck diversity. So there is that. So Onslaught's limit 2, which is not as big a deal, but now Amazoness were running Econ, so Amazoness cannot run Econ now. They just cannot run it, because if you run it, you have to run the 2 Onslaughts. So you just cannot run Econ. So that's interesting. It doesn't kill Amazoness, but it does make, as I said, they promote deck diversity. It does make Amazoness have to make some tough choices in their deck building now. So there's that. Cyber Petite Angel is semi-limited, which you might realize means you just can't use it because of Dakini and Machine Angel Ritual that kind of need to be in the deck, so you just kind of can't run Cyber Petite Angel anymore. Yeah, I know, Dominic. We all did. We all worked hard for that second Teen Angel. I know. So yeah, Cyber Angels got hit really hard just by this right here. This is actually a huge deal. Cyber Angel, I don't even know if you can run the deck anymore, honestly, because the best way for you to summon Dakini usually was a level 6 plus Cyber Petite Angel. So yeah, and now you can't use Cyber Petite Angel, so that's big. That's really, really big. Pulse Mine, semi-limit. Not like as big a deal, but it does make Gears have to make some choices at least. So there's that. The fact that Amazonas can't use Econ is more important to me than having Onslaught limited. Yeah, it definitely matters. Amazonas straight up cannot use Econ in their deck now, so it makes a difference for sure. This one is like not as big a deal, I think, because Gears definitely fallen in popularity anyway. It's really the only like competitive deck that was using Pulse Mines, but Archfiend's tier 0. Well, if you go by the title of some YouTube videos, Archfiends have already been tier 0. So. Not calling anybody out specifically. I'm just saying. It's a big deal. So Celestial is now limit 2. I don't think this is a huge deal. I think Destiny Heroes / Masked Heroes can deal with only having 2 Celestials. It just means they can't run Econ. But like I was mentioning earlier, my current Masked Hero list only runs 1 Econ anyway. So I think that it's not as big a deal. So many times I pop Chaos Hunter against Amazonas, only have it taken by an Econ. Yeah, I know. Imagine if Celestial and Mass Change both got semi-limited. Well, that would be insane. That would make Masked Heroes have to make some real tough decisions. But not the case. Masked Hero, or Mass Change rather, is still limit 3, so you're good there. So yeah, I don't think this is a huge deal, honestly. Again, you just don't run Econ, and you run 2 of these and add in like a second Drill Dark or another Decider or something, and your deck is still basically about the same. Like obviously Celestial is really good, so it will make it will hit the deck a little bit. I'm not saying it's not going to do anything to it, but they definitely still the deck will still function for sure. Okay, and no longer on the list is Red Eye Spirit, because as they very correctly say, we believe having 3 copies of this card is no longer overpowered in the current metagame. Hard agree. Strongly agree with that statement. I think it's fine. So there you go. So obviously Sylvans get hit super hard because of this. This is a really, really big deal. Amazonas can't use Econs anymore. Cyber Angels are probably just dead. Until I don't know, Cyber Angels always figure out a way to come back. They'll figure out some way to make that deck still good, but... so there's that. Obviously hitting Silent Swordsman OTK, and this is, you know, it is what it is. Okay, so there's that, and I'll just real quick do skills because I have some quick thoughts I want to add here. I'm not going to worry about these. These things are what they are. You can go over those at your leisure. But the biggest deals is Dual Standby is dead, Restart is dead, Balance is most likely dead. There you go. There's your summary. So Dual Standby, you cannot activate spell or trap cards or monster effects on your first turn. So basically, any deck that wanted to use Dual Standby no longer can use Dual Standby. There you go. Why Pulse Mines? I mean, Gears just played her a little bit. I don't know. I think maybe they were... feel like that might also be a preemptive thing. They were worried about Gears just rising too much in power once some of the other top... Because Gears, remember, were tier 1, and they dropped down because of some of the other decks. So they might have just preemptively done it because they were worried about the power level after the fact. So yeah, so anything that wanted to use Dual Standby now can't use Dual Standby. Restart is now completely terrible because even if you use it and get a good hand, you better be OTKing or else you're still probably going to lose. And if you restart and you brick after restarting, you might as well scoop right then and there because you're not getting any help on your next turn because you get no draw phase. Yes. Yes, hungry. The answer to your question is yes. Everybody was turn 1 of the duel. Oh, yeah, no. No. And Balance is, I'm not going to say 100% dead, but pretty bad. Now, So you need to have at least 6 of each type of card in your deck for balance to even activate. So if you're running less than 6 of any card type, monster, spell, or trap, balance just does not activate. You get nothing from it. So these two combined makes me really wonder about the future of Noble Knights, because Restart and Balance were literally the only 2 skills that Noble Knights used. That was it. It was those 2. So it's going to be interesting, because Noble Knights now, Balance doesn't really work for it. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see that. So Grit also has a pretty neat change to it. So if you had 4,000 more life points at the start of the turn, life points will not fall below 1 for 1 time only. So Grit can no longer activate multiple times. It only activates once per duel, and it's no longer random, which is great. So you know for sure whether Grit's going to activate or not. So overall, it is a nerf to Grit, but it's like a slight buff in that Grit was not guaranteed to activate at 4,000 life points before. It would, I don't know, it was either 80 or 85%. I don't remember what the percentage was. It was one of those two. It was either 80 or 85% to activate at 4,000 life. Now it's 100%, but both players now know exactly when it's going to activate, and you can play around it a little bit better, and you just know what you're up against, which is overall a good change, because that level of randomness, because even the amount of times that Grit would activate at like 2,000 or 2,500 life points was still, it wasn't great for the game, honestly. So yeah. So there's that. Then they wanted to limit the number of times you can use Ojama Go, Destiny Draw, and Extra Extra, which is right here. And limit the number of times these skills can cause duels to drag out. That's what they were worried about. So Ojama Go, Destiny Draw, both say now are only once per duel. Extra Extra, I feel, has to either be a typo or they accidentally forgot to finish it, because there is nothing listed as far as a limit to how many times you can use it. The only difference between this and what is currently active is that the current version of Extra Extra is the card you would be about to draw for your turn. You add a second one to the top of the deck, and then you draw 2. Now it's you draw 1, and then a copy gets added to your hand. But functionally, that is exactly the same. It's just a different way of doing it, but it's functionally exactly the same. So I assume they forgot to put that there is a limit. Maybe it is only once per duel now. I don't know. But probably it is only once per duel. I think they just forgot to write it. So, so there you go. Restart is basically destroyed. Duel Standby is basically destroyed. Balance is completely different, and decks that currently use Balance, like, you know, Noble Knight's pretty much the only competitive deck that is currently using Balance, no longer can. So it's a lot of extras once per turn. Oh, okay, thank you. That definitely clarifies things. Thank you for that. So yeah, these are big changes too. Like, obviously the Forbidden Limited list is huge, but these are really big changes too. We are going to be seeing a huge shake-up in the metagame, I think, which is good, for sure. But yeah, it's going to really make people reevaluate a lot of what they thought about the game. It's going to be interesting for sure. It's going to be very, very different than what we see right now.